Hello friends, I'm going to show you how to make a cute scarecrow using one of the Dollar Tree carrots. So I have a Dollar Tree carrot, some cardboard, piece of fabric, piece of burlap, and a wire. And I'm going to paint the carrot in the color TP, and it's chalk paint from Nicole with a Frayed Knot is where the chalk paint's from. And I'm going to paint the whole carrot, front and back, and the sides. And then I've cut out a crow, and I've cut out a little triangle for the nose for our scarecrow. And I'm painting that in the color Pumpkin Spice, and that is also another chalk paint from Nicole with a Frayed Knot. And then I'm going to paint the crow, the crow in Crazy Crow, which is also another one of her paint colors. And then I'm going to paint the beak of the crow in the color Gold Nugget. And I'm going to get all these painted up and dry them up. And then I have two little black half beads, and I don't like that they're shiny, so I'm going to paint those in that same Crazy Crow. It just gives them more of a matte finish when you do that. And that's going to be the eyes for our scarecrow. So now I have my little gator sander, and I'm going to sand all of my pieces. So now I got my piece of burlap, and I did not measure the size of this piece of burlap, and I folded up one end up about an inch, inch and a half. And I'm just wrapping it around the top of the carrot, or the bottom of the carrot. I'm just going to wrap it, and I'm going to take a little bit of hot glue, and I'm just going to hot glue that together. And then I'll just run a bead of hot glue around the back. I'm just peeling some of the little fibers. So now I have some raffia, and I'm gonna cut some pieces of raffia here, and I'm gonna tuck those down into the top, that open end of the burlap. Just like that. And then I've got a piece of jute, and I did glue the raffia up there at the top. I do glue it. And then I'm going to tie it with some jute to hold it. And I usually take and shred the little raffia to make it bigger. So now I have the piece of fabric that's been coffee grunged, and I'm going to glue it at the base where the little leaves or whatever meet the top of the carrot. And as I'm gluing, I'm scrunching the fabric to give it a gathered look. And that's going to be, of course, the neck of our scarecrow. So I'm just running a bead of glue and then putting my fabric down and just pinching it to get it gathered. Now you could put a running stitch in the top of that fabric and, pull it to get that gathered look. I just decided to do it this way, and of course it was a little long, so I'm tearing it off shorten it up just a little. And then I'm going to take and just put a little bit of glue on each side just to hold that fabric in place. And now I'm just going to lay my face of my scarecrow out. And I just kind of bent the wire. That's 16 gauge wire, rebar tie wire that I used. And I just kind of formed it however I wanted to make it smile. Put some little curlies on each side, and you'll see why I did that here in a little while. And I just have a couple little pieces of scrap fabric, you know, that I cut, and I'm going to glue those to my little hat and a little button, and then I'll add my Scarecrow. But we're going to add the nose. And I got my Kills Best Home Wax, and we'll wax everything. So I'm gluing my little square pieces of fabric, little scrap pieces down, making some little patches on the hat. And then I'm going to add a little button. Just dress the hat up a little bit. And I've got my Tight Bond Speed Set glue, and I'm going to glue the eyes down, which sometimes can be a challenge. Okay, I'm going to add some eyes to our little crow after I wax that. Sorry. Kind of was all scatterbrained, I guess, when I was doing this video. I don't know. Okay, so now I'm gluing my little crow down. I've got it all waxed. Used my wax on everything. So now I'm going to make a bow. And I'm just using a piece of cheesecloth and then a piece of that same fabric that I put around the neck of our Scarecrow. And I got it out, and I'm just going to tie it up real tight and fluff it out. And then I'll have to trim it up when I get it glued on there. A little long, so we'll get it all trimmed up. So this is a fun little project. If you've got one of these little carrots that you got at springtime from Dollar Tree, it's a fun way to use it. You can make you one of these little scarecrows for the fall. So now I got two little tacks, and that I'm going to put through the little holes on each side of my wire, and that's how we're going to attach the wire to the face. That was why I put those little curlies there. I'm going to hold that down, and I'm just going to hammer that down. Now, I did not add little blush to his cheeks, but you could give him some little blush cheeks. So now I'm just going to find a button for the center of my bow. And I'll show you here in a minute. Here's our little Scarecrow. Just a cute little project and not very expensive. And I want to thank you for watching. This is Robin with Zimmies Simple Designs.